Imagine going for a swim, but instead of the pool or beach, you take a dip into the deep sea. It's cold, dark, and downright creepy down there. But if you aren't claustrophobic and don't mind the pressure, you can explore an entire other world full of bizarre ecosystems powered by volcanoes. They won't win any awards for scenic views, but they are home to some truly unique life forms, including some that can survive up to 400 degrees Celsius. What is it about these ecosystems that allows them to thrive despite the extreme conditions? And how do scientists study them? You'll find out in this episode, Earth's Abyss. In 2025, we're going to start our journey into the abyss, the region of the ocean where sunlight can't reach. And our destination is even deeper, the bottom of the Mariana Trench, which is over 6 miles deep. The water here is nearly 380 times deeper than the deepest part of the Grand Canyon. At such depths, the pressure is tremendous. If you took a 350 milliliters cup of water to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, it would feel as if more than 500 elephants were sitting on it. So diving to the bottom of the Mariana Trench is not a good idea. Luckily, there's another way to get there. Scientists use special remotely operated vehicles called ROVs. Equipped with cameras and robotic arms, ROVs can collect samples and even film while braving the intense pressure, freezing temperatures, and complete darkness. But what kind of world will our researchers find at the bottom of the Mariana Trench? Well, most likely no one. There are very few animals living in the abyssal zone, so deep that they can withstand the pressure. Most of the organisms found here are still unidentified. The diversity of life is low, but it's higher than in the even deeper hadal zone, which includes the Mariana Trench. Here you can meet the famous anglerfish, a predatory fish with a luminous appendage that dangles in front of its mouth to lure prey. A school of these guys looks pretty scary, but seeing one alone is incredibly rare because they usually lurk in the depths. But there's another danger in the abyss, the so-called empty spaces, areas where nothing lives at all. That's because there's no food or oxygen there. So when our researchers spot something alive, it's always a cause for celebration. To be honest, our expedition was supposed to go to shallower waters to see how life has adapted to low oxygen levels. But then, the ROV discovered a place that was teeming with life despite the lack of oxygen. And the reason turned out to be simple: hydrothermal vents, underwater geysers emitting superheated water mixed with minerals. In fact, there are several dozen known fields of hydrothermal vents in the oceans, but the first one was discovered back in 1977. By now, scientists have found that their chimneys emit not only hot water, but also hydrogen sulfide, methane, nitrogen, and other gases. They also contain lots of heavy metals like iron and zinc. In general, this cocktail of substances is toxic to most living things. But for some creatures living near hydrothermal vents, it's just perfect. The best known are the tube worms. They look like mini dragons and live in giant colonies. Living in an environment without oxygen, they use a special protein to transport oxygen inside their bodies. But this adaptation isn't enough to survive in such conditions. Tube worms have developed a symbiotic relationship with bacteria that convert hydrogen sulfide into energy. This chemical reaction doesn't require oxygen, so the bacteria and the worms are both happy. The worms get food, and the bacteria get protection and a stable habitat. The bacteria live inside the worms' bodies and form a single organism with them. In short, this is how the worms manage to adapt to low oxygen levels. But tube worms aren't the only ones thriving near the vents. The giant scaly foot snail is another example. Its adaptability to extreme conditions can only be envied. These gastropods are chemotrophs, which means they feed on chemicals instead of plants. Some species of scallops can even boast of being the most resistant creatures on Earth. They can handle temperatures from -10 to 150 degrees Celsius. How do they do it? Their feet are covered with special plates made of iron sulfide. This armor protects them from burning in high temperatures. Scallops living in colder waters use the heat coming from the vents to warm up and even regulate their body temperature. Thanks to this ability, they don't need to spend energy keeping their body at a certain temperature. This means they don't need much food and can easily survive even in places with low oxygen levels. In addition, the waters around vents are rich in various minerals that serve as a source of nutrition for clams, mussels, and other creatures. Because of this abundance, animals never have to worry about getting food. But there's a problem of not being eaten, and it's solved quite simply. All the animals living in the vents are blind. Evolution simply didn't see the point in spending energy on eyes, since almost no light gets to these depths anyway. Without eyes, they save energy and direct it to other essential processes. Moreover, some of the inhabitants of the vents are hermaphroditic. Many individuals combine male and female reproductive organs and can produce offspring both on their own and by mating with others. Perhaps this is another adaptation aimed at saving energy and resources. There are also vent crabs and shrimp, but they have shorter life cycles and grow faster than their relatives living in more favorable conditions. In short, life near hydrothermal vents follows its own laws. In 2022, Japanese researchers used a remotely operated vehicle to discover a new species of tube worm living near hydrothermal vents in the Mariana Trench. They also found that these worms could survive temperatures up to 400 degrees Celsius. And what's most surprising, they don't even live near vents. The scientists drilled into the seabed and found the worms in the sediment layers at a depth of 2 kilometers. Usually, the maximum temperature at such depths shouldn't exceed 2 degrees Celsius. But here, right next to the hydrothermal vent, the water reached 400 degrees Celsius. How did the worms manage to tolerate such high temperatures? It turns out they got used to them. The temperature near the vents fluctuates all the time, but it's fairly stable at a depth of 2 kilometers. It ranges from 40 to 80 degrees Celsius. The worms use this stable heat to regulate their own temperature, which is vital for the bacteria living inside them. By protecting their internal environment, the worms can control the activity of the bacteria and thus ensure a constant supply of nutrients. When studying this species, the researchers realized that it wasn't suitable for creating a common family tree. Its genome turned out to be so unusual that scientists described it as chaotic. For example, in the DNA of these worms, the genes responsible for sexual reproduction were somehow mixed with the genes responsible for asexual reproduction. As for the size of the worms, it varies greatly depending on the environmental conditions. One individual can reach several meters in length, while another can fit on the tip of your finger. By the way, scientists have determined that the age of the tube worm species that lives near hydrothermal vents is about 40 million years. In short, they appeared on our planet simultaneously with dinosaurs. But our journey into the depths of the oceans isn't over yet. In 2023, scientists created a map of hydrothermal vents in the Arctic Ocean. It turned out that their total area is comparable to the territory of Austria. And that's not surprising. After all, the Arctic is the largest ocean on Earth. Plus, it's home to 23% of all water in the world's oceans. That's why scientists used a network of 349,000 seafloor mapping instruments called Nippon Foundation Jebko Seabed 2030 to create the map. The devices collected data at a resolution of 100 meters. They were lowered to the bottom of the Arctic Ocean on board a Russian research vessel, and in 2024, scientists discovered active hydrothermal vents in Antarctica for the first time. Until then, experts believed that volcanic activity on the continent was dormant, but it turned out that at a depth of 1.5 kilometers, the water temperature reaches 410 degrees Celsius. It's hot, and who knows what else scientists will find in the deepest and darkest corners of our planet. Life here is indeed strange and unusual, but it's hardy and tenacious. It seems that even the most extreme conditions can't stop evolution from doing its thing. Do you think life will be found on other planets? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye.